Have you ever felt it, that quiet, unspoken pulse in the air when someone looks at you just a moment too long? When their laughter lingers like incense after the joke has already faded? When silence between you feels alive, as though something invisible is holding its breath? Ah, yes, that peculiar electricity. It's subtle, elusive, and almost impossible to name, for to name it would be to break it. And perhaps that's why so many people never speak of it, because the very act of admitting love can destroy its magic. You see, love is a curious thing. It doesn't always march in with a declaration or a grand proposal. More often, it tiptoes quietly behind the curtains of our daily lives, disguised as kindness, as attention, as gentle mockery. And sometimes, the one who loves you most will never say it aloud. Not because they don't feel it, but because they feel it too deeply. Let's explore this mystery, who is secretly in love with you, but will never admit it. To begin, we must first understand something about human nature. We are creatures of concealment. We wear masks, not because we are false, but because we are afraid. Afraid that to be seen completely would make us vulnerable, perhaps even foolish. So love, the most dangerous of emotions, becomes the most carefully hidden. A person might laugh at your jokes, tease you endlessly, even argue with you, not because they dislike you, but because it's safer to dance around love than to fall straight into it. After all, it's easier to joke about fire than to step into it. And you might have noticed, there's always that one person who seems to orbit around your life. They appear in small coincidences, the same hallway, the same coffee shop, the same laugh at just the right moment. When you're around, their words take on a special rhythm. They remember the things you've long forgotten you ever said. When you're gone, they find excuses to mention you in conversation, as if your name were a melody they can't stop humming. But they'll never confess it. Why? Because love in its truest form is shy. It doesn't wish to possess, it only wishes to behold. You see, most people mistake love for ownership. My partner, my wife, my husband. But the secret admirer loves differently. Their love is a kind of worship from afar. Not because they are cowardly, but because they sense that to touch the butterfly would be to crush it. Perhaps they are afraid to lose what little they already have. Your friendship, your trust, your smile. And so they love you silently. They hide it behind casual gestures and carefully chosen words. But if you listen, if you really listen, you can hear the tremor in their voice when they say your name. You see, when someone is secretly in love, their body betrays them. The eyes, those wonderful liars, become terrible at hiding truth. They linger on your face longer than they should. They notice details no one else does. The way your hair falls when you're thinking, the rhythm of your hands when you talk. They notice because their attention is not forced. It is reverence. Ah, attention, the most honest form of love there is. When someone loves you silently, they give you this, their pure attention. They are fully there, utterly absorbed, as though time itself pauses in your presence. And isn't that the essence of love? To lose oneself, even for a moment, in the beauty of another being? Now, perhaps you've wondered, but why not tell me? Why keep it hidden? Because love is not always ready to reveal itself. Sometimes it's waiting for safety, sometimes for timing, and sometimes it never reveals itself at all, because the person believes that to love you from afar is enough. They are like the moon admiring the ocean, close enough to create tides, but never touching. And yet you can feel it, can't you, when someone looks at you with that peculiar softness that no one else does, when they remember your words long after you've forgotten them, when they seem to understand your silence better than your speech. That is the language of secret love. But let's not romanticize it too much. Secret love is both beautiful and tragic. It's beautiful because it is pure, untouched by the messiness of expectation. And it's tragic because it is doomed to stay incomplete, forever longing, never arriving. Imagine for a moment a painter who falls in love with a sunset. He paints it again and again, capturing its colors, its glow, its fleeting warmth. But he never touches it, never claims it. His love exists in the act of creation itself, in the endless attempt to preserve something ephemeral. That's what secret love is, the art of cherishing without owning. Now, if you wish to recognize this love in your own life, you must become a quiet observer, not of words but of gestures. Notice who always finds reasons to be near you, even if they pretend it's by chance. Notice who listens to you, truly listens, when others only wait for their turn to speak. Notice whose mood changes subtly when you enter the room, whose laughter softens, whose posture straightens. It's in these small betrayals of the body that love reveals itself, because love, no matter how tightly hidden, leaks through the seams of our being. It shows up in the way we remember, the way we care, the way we hesitate. And perhaps you too are someone's secret, someone's quiet confession that will never be spoken aloud. Perhaps you are the dream they carry like a precious jewel in their pocket, not to show the world, but to hold close in moments of loneliness. And isn't that rather beautiful? That somewhere out there, unseen and unnamed, someone looks at you as if you were the rarest thing in existence. And yet they say nothing, because in silence their love remains untouched by rejection, unspoiled by expectation. You see, unspoken love is not less real. It's simply invisible. And often invisibility is love's only protection, because once spoken, love changes shape. It enters the world of human games, of hopes, fears, and futures. But unspoken love remains eternal. It exists in a sacred place where nothing is demanded and nothing is lost. Only the quiet knowing that somewhere in this vast universe, another soul vibrates gently in rhythm with your own. Now, why does love hide? Why does it whisper instead of sing? Because love, you see, is not merely an emotion. It is an exposure. It strips us of every defense we have so carefully built around ourselves. To love someone, even secretly, is to hand them the power to wound us. And that is no small thing. Most of us spend our lives in armor, polished, smiling, respectable armor. We learn early on that the world is unpredictable, people are fickle, and hearts are fragile things. So we protect them. We learn to play roles, to be pleasant, interesting, independent. But behind all that, there's always a trembling child who simply wishes to be seen and not hurt. And so, when love begins to bloom inside someone who's not ready, their first instinct is to hide it, to bury it under jokes, under distance, under polite indifference. Because if you never say it, you can never lose it. You can only imagine what might have been. But imagination is both paradise and prison. It gives comfort, yet denies experience. You can fall in love 1,000 times in your mind and never once taste the reality of it. So perhaps the one who secretly loves you lives in that delicate balance between desire and fear. They hover at the edge of confession, always about to step forward and always retreating at the last moment. A smile becomes a battlefield, a text message, a storm of hesitation. They might even convince themselves that what they feel is nothing, that it's only friendship or admiration. But their body betrays them again and again. When you touch their arm, even briefly, their breath catches. When you look at them a little too long, they look away. Not because they don't want to meet your gaze, but because it's too much. To see you is to feel too deeply. And so they retreat behind laughter, behind casual words, behind that terribly transparent phrase, "We're just friends." But let us not mock them for it. We all, at one point or another, have been that silent lover. We've all known the strange ache of wanting someone so much that even speaking feels like desecration. Because once you speak it, you risk losing it. And people would rather keep a beautiful illusion than face a disappointing truth. You see, love hides not because it's weak, but because it's sacred. The moment you expose something sacred to the daylight of ordinary conversation, it changes. It becomes something else, an arrangement, an agreement, a relationship. But secret love exists in the twilight, half dream, half reality. And perhaps that's what makes it so intoxicating. There is no disappointment, because nothing has yet been demanded. There are no expectations, because nothing has been promised. Only the endless, delicious uncertainty of what if. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful moments in life are the ones that never quite happen? The almost kiss, the hand that almost reaches out, the glance that almost says it all. There's a strange perfection in incompletion, for when something remains unfinished, it stays pure. It can never decay, never be spoiled by the clumsy hands of reality. Secret love, in that sense, is like a melody that never resolves, always lingering, always echoing. But here's the paradox. While love hides to protect itself, it also suffers in silence. Because love, by nature, wants to flow. It wants to express, to connect, to merge. When it's bottled up too long, it becomes sorrowful, like a bird pacing inside its cage, wings brushing the bars. And you, perhaps unknowingly, are the air that bird longs to breathe. Now, sometimes the one who loves you silently does reveal themselves, not in words, but in subtle offerings. They might show care in small, invisible ways. They'll ask if you've eaten, remember your worries, help you in ways that seem ordinary to everyone else, but are extraordinary to them. Each gesture, no matter how simple, is a confession in disguise. They'll give you space to talk, they'll listen without judgment, and perhaps most beautifully, they will remember. Oh, they will remember. They'll remember that you like your coffee a certain way, that you prefer silence in the mornings, that certain songs make you sad. They'll hold these small details as one holds relics, not for use, but for reverence. For them, love is not a performance. It is quiet attention. And perhaps that's the secret most people miss. The one who loves you, but never says it, is often the one who loves you most purely, because their love is not about possession, nor about validation. It's not about being loved back. It's about the sheer wonder of your existence. To them, your presence is a kind of music, something they don't wish to own, only to listen to. They would rather stay silent and near than speak and lose everything. They would rather watch you walk away happy with someone else than make you uncomfortable with their confession. And that, oddly enough, is still love, just as real, though rarely acknowledged. Now, if you look closely at life, you'll see that this kind of silent affection is everywhere. The friend who always checks in but never flirts. The colleague whose compliments are always disguised as jokes. The stranger who holds your gaze a second too long and then looks down embarrassed. They are all participants in this great human play of concealed love. But here's the cosmic trick. Sometimes both of you are hiding. Sometimes the one you suspect loves you secretly is also the one who suspects the same of you. Two souls circling each other like twin stars, both afraid to collide. And so the dance continues, endless, beautiful, and absurd, each waiting for a sign, each pretending not to care. And the universe watches, smiling, because this exquisite hesitation is its favorite game. Now, you may wonder, should one break the silence? Should you be the one to say, I see you, I feel it too? That depends on your courage and your willingness to lose the illusion. Because to confess love is to invite chaos. The fantasy shatters. The dream collapses into something real, something unpredictable. But that too is part of the dance. For love, whether spoken or silent, always involves risk. The silent lover avoids that risk and thus keeps love safe but incomplete. The brave lover speaks and may lose everything or gain everything. And you, dear listener, must decide which is better, to guard a perfect dream forever or to live an imperfect reality that may break your heart but will at least be alive. You see, when love is hidden, it does not vanish. It becomes something subtler, an invisible thread stretched between two souls. You may not see it, but you feel it, like the faint hum in the air before a thunderstorm, or the way the tide knows when the moon is near. There's an ancient rhythm to it, this silent connection. You might find yourself thinking of them for no reason, at strange hours, as if some unseen pulse connected your hearts across distance and time. You'll reach for your phone to text them, and there it is, a message from them already waiting. Coincidence, perhaps, or maybe something deeper. When two people are quietly bound by affection, their energies begin to mingle. Their awareness subtly intertwines. You sense their moods even when they're not around. You can feel their sadness like an echo, and their joy like sunlight on your skin. It's not magic, it's attention. And attention, my friend, is the most profound form of energy exchange there is. We think of love as something loud, full of proclamations and gestures. But the most powerful love is often the quietest. It's not in the fireworks. It's in the stillness after the noise. It's not in the kiss. It's in the hesitation before the kiss. And perhaps you've known this kind of connection. The kind where silence feels complete, where words only seem to disturb what is already being said between the lines. You sit beside each other, saying nothing, and yet everything that matters is being spoken in the spaces between your breaths. That is what secret love truly is, communication without language, a silent recognition. I see you and I understand. But let's go deeper. What happens to the soul that loves and never speaks? What becomes of that energy, that longing, that devotion held quietly in the chest for years, perhaps even a lifetime? It doesn't disappear. It transforms. Unspoken love becomes art, compassion, creation. It spills into poetry, into music, into acts of kindness done for strangers. Because when you cannot give your love to the one you desire, the heart must still express itself somewhere. It overflows into the world. This is why many great artists, saints, and thinkers carried within them some secret love that was never fulfilled. That ache became their muse. That silence became their prayer. In a way, unspoken love matures the soul. It refines the raw passion of desire into something luminous, something that touches life itself. When you love someone and cannot tell them, you begin to see beauty everywhere. Every sunset, every bird's song, every gentle thing reminds you of them. You start to realize that love is not about a single person. It's about the state of being awakened by another. The beloved is only the doorway. What you discover through them is love itself. So perhaps the one who loves you secretly has already transformed that love into something greater. They love not just you, but the world through you. Your presence opened a window in their heart, and now the light pours through in all directions. That's the quiet miracle of hidden affection. It doesn't destroy, it expands, and yet it still aches, because every soul longs for its reflection. Every lover, even the silent one, dreams, if only for a moment, of being seen. Sometimes the universe conspires to make that moment happen. One day your eyes meet differently. The air grows heavier, the world fades, and in that instant, both of you know. There's no confession, no speech, just recognition. It's as if the secret that's been hiding for so long finally exhales. And what a strange relief it is to be seen without ever having asked to be. But not every story unfolds that way. Sometimes the one who loves you will carry that love to the end of their days, never saying a word. They will smile at your wedding, congratulate your happiness, and vanish quietly into the background of your life, and you will never know how deeply you were cherished. Yet somewhere in the fabric of the cosmos that love remains, because love, even unspoken, leaves a trace. It lingers like perfume long after the person has gone. It is said that when you truly love someone, you leave a part of your soul with them, and they with you. So, whether or not it is ever spoken aloud, that connection never dies. It simply changes form. You might find, years later, that a memory of them brings peace rather than pain. That's how you know the love has ripened. It no longer seeks to possess. It simply blesses. The secret lover's greatest act of love is not confession, but release. They love you enough to let you be free, even if that freedom takes you away from them. And that, dear one, is love in its highest form. Not desire, not attachment, not need, but reverence. So if ever you sense that someone loves you but cannot say it, do not demand it of them. Let it be. Honor it. Because in this world of noise and pretense, a love that asks for nothing is a rare and sacred thing. And who knows, perhaps you too have loved in silence. Perhaps you too have watched someone from afar, smiled through heartbreak, prayed for their happiness without ever being part of it. If so, then you understand. You know that secret love is not a tragedy. It's a gift. It teaches you how vast the heart truly is, how it can love even without return, how it can give without end. For love that needs to be returned is business. Love that simply is, that's enlightenment. So, who is secretly in love with you but will never admit it? Maybe it's someone you already suspect. Or maybe it's someone you've never noticed. Someone whose quiet devotion has lived in the corners of your story all along. But more importantly, ask yourself this: what would happen if you stopped hiding your love? Not necessarily for a person, but for life itself. Because the same fear that silences romantic love also silences our joy, our gratitude, our wonder. And perhaps by learning to see the secret lover, we also learn to awaken the secret lover within ourselves. That part of us that wants to embrace the world but hesitates. Now you see, the most intriguing thing about secret love is that it reveals not only the lover but the self. For to love someone in silence, to adore them without ever claiming them, is to encounter the deepest parts of who you are. You begin to see your own longings reflected in their presence. Their beauty awakens your forgotten tenderness. Their laughter stirs something in you that was asleep for years. And this, my friend, is where the mystery of love becomes the mystery of the self. Because when you feel that pull, that ache, that admiration for another, what are you really encountering? Is it them? Or is it the part of you that recognizes itself in them? The beloved becomes a mirror. Through them you glimpse your own capacity to love, to feel, to awaken. That's why even unspoken love changes you. It's not about the other person giving you something. It's about what the experience unlocks within your soul. When you love secretly, you strip away the drama of demand. You are no longer saying, "Love me," back. You are simply saying, so this is what love feels like. This is what I am capable of. And that realization is profound, because it means that love is not something you get, it's something you are. We spend so much of our lives believing that love must be earned, won, or deserved. But the silent lover learns another truth, that love is not a currency. It is a condition of being, like light from the sun. You cannot make it shine brighter by deserving it. You can only open the shutters and let it through. So when someone secretly loves you, understand that their silence is not a lack. It is a kind of reverence. You have stirred in them the awareness of life itself, that sacred recognition of beauty which cannot be explained. You see, the ego, that endlessly chattering storyteller in our minds, always wants to define, to possess, to secure. It says, if I love you, I must have you. If I feel this, it must mean something. But love, in its purest form, doesn't belong to the ego. It belongs to the soul. And the soul doesn't care about labels, timelines, or promises. It simply delights in the experience of being alive through another. That's why unspoken love often feels so spiritual. It's not bound by words or agreements. It just is. It exists in the same quiet way a candle burns in the dark. No declaration, no noise, only steady light. And here's something rather beautiful sometimes. The one who secretly loves you doesn't even fully understand it themselves. They may tell themselves they just like your company, that you're easy to talk to, or that they're protective of you. But deep down, something older and wiser knows this connection is not ordinary. It's not logical. It's not planned. It simply arrived uninvited and rearranged everything inside them. Have you ever noticed how love always feels familiar, even when it's new? That's because, on some level, love is the remembering of unity, that ancient knowing that we are not separate beings, but waves of the same ocean. So when one soul recognizes another, it's not a meeting, it's a reunion. Perhaps that's why secret love feels so hauntingly powerful, because it carries the whisper of something timeless. It feels as though you've known this person before, and that some ancient part of you still does, and yet in this life you cannot speak it. Maybe the timing is wrong, maybe the circumstances are unkind, maybe life in its strange wisdom decided that the connection was meant not for possession, but for awakening. Because sometimes love enters your life not to stay, but to remind you of yourself. It comes like a spark, lights up the dark corridors of your being and leaves you illuminated, forever changed. So, if you've ever been loved secretly, or if you've ever been the one loving in silence, know this: it was never wasted. Love never is. It always transforms something. Even when it doesn't lead to togetherness, it leads to depth. It makes you softer, more perceptive, more alive. It teaches you patience, humility, compassion. It shows you the vastness of your own heart, that you can love without needing to possess. And that, perhaps, is the closest thing to enlightenment most of us will ever taste. You see, the secret lover learns what sages have always taught, that true love is selfless, because the self that wants is only an illusion. When you love and expect nothing, not even acknowledgement, you have transcended the ordinary games of romance. You have entered the sacred space where love and consciousness become one. This is why sometimes the most spiritual relationships are the ones that never happen, because they're not meant to be lived in the outer world. They're meant to unfold inside you, in your thoughts, your growth, your art, your prayer. The beloved becomes a symbol of awakening. They awaken in you the capacity to love everything. That's why some people never forget their secret loves, because that person was not just a crush or a missed opportunity. They were a teacher. They taught them how to feel again, how to ache, how to dream, how to listen. You could even say that God speaks through our secret loves, using them as mirrors to show us who we truly are. And perhaps that's why, if you look closely, the world itself is full of secret lovers. The sky adores the sea but never touches it. The moon loves the night, yet they are forever apart. The flower reaches for the sun but fades when it gets too close. Separation, it seems, is part of the design. For without distance there would be no longing, and without longing there would be no poetry, no music, no art, no prayer. Love hides so that we may seek. Love withholds so that we may grow. And through that seeking and growing, we begin to understand that the love we thought was for another has always been the love of existence itself. So perhaps the one who secretly loves you is not only showing you their heart, they are showing you the vastness of your own. And so, as we come to the end of this little meditation, let us look again, not at the lover who hides, but at the freedom hidden within love itself. You see, the universe has a peculiar sense of humor. It gives us what we most desire only when we stop grasping for it. It whispers its secrets only when we grow quiet enough to listen. And love, that great cosmic joke, works in much the same way. The moment we try to hold it, it slips away. The moment we let it be, it floods our being like sunlight through open windows. So who is secretly in love with you but will never admit it? Perhaps it's that gentle soul who listens more than they speak. Perhaps it's the friend who always seems to appear when you're falling apart. Perhaps it's the one whose eyes light up when you enter the room, even though they pretend not to notice. But on a deeper level, my dear, perhaps it is life itself that is secretly in love with you. For every sunrise that kisses your face, every breath that enters your lungs, every random act of beauty that crosses your path, they are all life's way of saying, I adore you. The stars didn't have to shine tonight, but they did. The wind didn't have to whisper through the trees, but it does. Why? Because life too is enamored with its own creation. You are the beloved of existence, whether you realize it or not. And when you understand that, when you truly see it, something shifts. You begin to walk differently, not as a beggar of affection, but as one who is already loved beyond measure. The person who secretly loves you in their silence is reflecting this same truth, that love does not need to be spoken to be real, that it can exist in pure form, unclaimed, unnamed, unpossessed, and still move mountains within the soul. Now the ego will ask, but what do I do with this? Should I confess? Should I chase? Should I know for sure? And I would say, perhaps none of that matters. Because the point of love is not certainty, it is wonder. To love is to step willingly into the unknown, to risk being foolish, to allow the heart to dance where the mind cannot follow. The one who secretly loves you lives in that sacred uncertainty. They have chosen, perhaps unconsciously, to dwell in the mystery rather than the outcome. And in doing so, they've touched something many never will, the essence of love without condition. But you too are called into that mystery. What if you stopped needing to know who loves you and began to see love everywhere? What if you allowed the warmth of life itself to be enough? For then, you would no longer chase affection. You would radiate it. When you understand that you are loved by existence, the need for possession dissolves. You become free to love everyone and everything, not as a strategy, but as a natural expression of being. You see, we humans tend to shrink love into a transaction. We say, I love you if you love me, or I love you because you make me happy. But life does not operate by that logic. The rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. The sun warms both sinner and saint. Love, at its source, is utterly impartial. It simply shines. And so too the secret lover shines, silently, steadfastly, even without recognition. In their hidden affection lies a lesson that love can exist purely for its own sake, that to love is in itself the reward. The poet Rumi once said, though forgive me, I speak as myself now, your task is not to seek love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. For those barriers, fear, pride, expectation, are the very reasons love must sometimes hide. So the question is not who loves me secretly, but what keeps me from seeing the love that is already here? Because when you dissolve the walls around your heart, you begin to notice love everywhere, in glances, in kindness, in the play of light on water. You begin to feel the universe as a lover breathing through you. And then, my friend, even unspoken love becomes enough. For what is love, truly, if not the recognition of our shared existence? When two beings, however briefly, remember that they are made of the same infinite substance, that is love. When you look into someone's eyes and see yourself, not your ego, not your history, but the same spark of being, that is love. It does not matter whether it is returned or declared or completed. Its purpose is to awaken you to the wonder of being alive. And so when you feel that quiet ache, when you sense that someone, somewhere, carries you tenderly in their heart, smile. For in that moment, you are part of something vast and holy. A reminder that this universe, though terrifyingly large and often indifferent, still finds room for tenderness. And maybe, just maybe, you are someone's tenderness too. So the next time you catch that lingering glance, that nervous laugh, that subtle warmth that words never name, don't rush to solve it. Let it be the mystery that it is. Let it remind you that love is not something we do, it's something we are. Let it humble you, soften you, expand you. Because the secret lover, whether near or far, real or imagined, human or divine, is always pointing you back to the same truth. That to love, even in silence, is to participate in the sacred play of existence. And when you finally understand that, you realize there was never anything to confess, never anything to hide, never anything to lose. There was only ever love, wearing different faces, speaking in different silences. And so, if you wish to know who secretly loves you, look not outward, but inward. Listen not for confession, but for resonance. For the one who loves you, truly, is not merely a person, but the universe itself, awakening to its own beauty through your eyes. And that, dear one, is the greatest secret of all.